Preseason week 2 is just around the corner. Saints versus Jaguars. And in today's video, we're going to provide a preview and the top players to watch here on Saints Now by Chat Sports. But I want to encourage you to join the live watch party. On game day, we are going to be live 1 hour before kickoff. So be sure to subscribe, turn on your notifications. This is going to be the thumbnail. Whenever you see it, click on it. We're going to go live an hour before kickoff at 11 a.m. Central Time to have a little tailgate pregame show, have some fun. So be sure to subscribe and tune into the party. Now, this matchup is going to be an interesting one. The first time Kellen Moore will get to call plays as the Saints head coach in the Superdome. Last time Kellen Moore called plays in the Superdome, Lopez, do you know what happened? He won one of these. He won a Super Bowl ring with the Philadelphia Eagles as the offensive coordinator. Not really paying too much attention to the betting odds, but it does start at noon Central Time. Saints are going to be the home team, and I think that this is going to actually be a pretty fun game to watch. The Saints will get to face a familiar opponent, and they get to face a familiar face. They get to take on a familiar face in Liam Coen. He was the Buccaneers offensive coordinator last season, and fun fact, he led the NFL's only offense that finished top 5 in yards per game, scoring, passing yards per game, and rushing yards per game. He is now the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, so we will get to see a guy who beat the New Orleans Saints twice last year, now have a nod at a head coaching position and get to see him call the game for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I can tell you right now, the player I'm most excited to watch is not in the black and gold. He is actually repping Duval. Very, 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 very eager to watch Travis Hunter. To be totally honest, like when you were watching college football last year, if Colorado was on, you tuned in. Like you can argue with me, you can say you didn't, but you watched Travis Hunter highlights. You knew what was going on with this guy because he was a very talented, very prolific, very impressive young athlete, and he's a player that the Jags traded up to go and get. And I'm just excited to see the utilization of an offensive and defensive player. Like, it's such an interesting guy, and it's such an interesting way to approach being a football player. Like, it's so unique. Taysom Hill, obviously, the Swiss Army knife, but even he isn't doing what Travis Hunter's doing. And for what it's worth, Travis Hunter, I don't think, could do what Taysom Hill does, but what Travis Hunter's doing is extremely impressive. Against the Pittsburgh Steelers in preseason week 1, he did only play 19 snaps. 11 were offensive, 11 were offensive, 8 were defensive. In the offensive stats, 2 targets, 2 receptions, 9 yards, a long of 6 yards. Didn't really log anything in terms of the defense, but we will also get to see another player who absolutely popped off, and a guy that I am a personal fan of. I went to the University of Arkansas. I'm a Razorback. Cam Little, he was the kicker for the Hogs the past couple of seasons. I actually know the guy. He's really, really good dude. Hit a 70-yard field goal. Longest field goal ever kicked, ever in football, ever. Unbelievable. Will we get to see that? I don't know. But it is an absolute advantage to know you can line up at the 50-yard line and you're going to get points. I will say this. I'm interested to see how the special teams and how the Saints game plan against a weapon, I should say, like Cam Little. For the quarterback situation in New Orleans, I can tell you, I feel like last week there was a lot left on the table. All 3 of these players left some to be desired, left some on the bone, I would say. Spencer Rattler specifically, being the guy that got the QB1 reps and being the guy who started the game, I thought he would be more impressive. And considering the experience, considering it being his second year, I want to see him bounce back and have a really, really strong performance against the Jags. Tyler Shough, I thought, outside of the pick 6, had a really, really impressive day. And for what it's worth, if he connects with Kevin Austin Jr. on that deep ball early in the drive or early in his reps, I believe it was in that 2-minute drill, you're talking about his day completely different. He moved the ball well. He was efficient. He was effective. Pick 6 happened, sure, but he bounced back and threw a 54-yard bomb to Mason Tipton. Absolutely great way to go about it. Jake Haener just wasn't great, in my opinion. Didn't see a ton, but in my opinion, I think you don't really need to have him be in the QB1 battle, if that makes sense. Nothing against him. It feels like Shough and Rattler are truly the guys. The offensive line last week was a joke. It was not good. Will Clapp did suffer an injury early on. As we know, he has now been placed on IR. So has wide receiver Bub Means. But the guys in the trenches just need to play better. Dylan Radins, he played all of his snaps at the tackle position, both right and left side. He was not good. Needs to be better. He is now going to be playing at the left guard spot because Trevor Penning is dealing with an injury. He's going to be missing some time. The offensive line, in my opinion, is a unit that has the opportunity, if they can stay healthy, to be a strength of this team. However, the depth does scare me. Big shout out, though, to Silly Simpkins for filling in. We're going to talk about him more in a moment. Kellen Moore's offense, in case you didn't know, was very, very different than the offense that we saw last year under Clint Kubiak, and before that with Pete Carmichael and other guys in the fold calling plays and whatnot. The pre-snap motion was very, 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 very present. The New Orleans Saints had the 5th most snaps using motion in the first week of the preseason. That is not anywhere close to where the Saints were in previous seasons. Now, it's more modern. They're moving their players around to create confusion and create distractions for opposing defenses. Kellen Moore's offense is modern. I really like to see it. And again, reminder, this is a vanilla version and a very bland version of this offense. I can't wait to see the starters run it at full speed with a fully open playbook. Last week, in my opinion, when the game was all said and done, sure, I was frustrated that we lost. I'm also not going to put a ton of weight into a loss in the preseason. But I really didn't feel any more or less confident. I thought that there were things last year, such as the run defense, that were really, really bad, that were okay, actually. That being said, the mobile quarterback is still destroying you. So Trey Lance had a really good day on the ground. That needs to be better. The offense, in my opinion, like I said, left a lot to be desired. I'd like to see the rushing attack be better. I'd like to see the offensive line play better. I'd like to see more production from the wide receivers and from the quarterbacks. I didn't feel any different about this team after the game was done. I was not more confident. I was not less confident. I was just like, okay, well, we've seen a small dosage of it. I think I need to see more. I'm really, really excited to watch a lot of these players this week because there were a bunch of guys who stood out. But I want to hear from you before I tell you who my guys are. Who are you most excited to watch versus the Jaguars? Can be Jags players. I'll give you credit. Travis Hunter is going to be fun to watch. Maybe say Brian Thomas Jr. It'll be fun to see him back in Louisiana. I want to hear from you, though. Get in the comment section. Who are you most excited to watch for Saints versus Jaguars? Week 1 MVPs. I will just go ahead and say these are 5 players I'm really excited to see take the field against the Jags. Mason Tipton, he had that 54-yard bomb from Tyler Shough. He has been a player that's had a very impressive summer. He had a really strong summer last year, strong training camp, strong preseason. He ended up making the roster. I think that that's going to happen again for him, especially considering the lack of depth in the wide receiver room right now. Fadil Diggs, very, very impressive. He absolutely is on top of Isaiah Foskey in their battle for the edge rusher position. I think that he is a guy that is definitely leading that battle. In one preseason game, Fadil Diggs had a sack. In 1.5, Isaiah Foskey in all of his games combined, including the preseason, has 1.5 sacks. It's like Fadil Diggs is already doing really, really well. Silly Simpkins filled in incredibly well after Will Clapp's injury. He played, I believe it was 97% of the snaps and had a really, really good day. Held his own very well. I think he has a very clear shot to the roster. Velus Jones Jr., he was productive on the ground, productive in the air. He was productive in special teams as a kick returner, as a return specialist. Like, I don't know where you're going to find space for him on the roster, but, as a special teams guy, like that could be where he does end up making his money and end up having his biggest impact. Isaiah Stallbird led the defense in tackles. He had 8, and he had 3 special teams tackles. This guy was really, really good, playing with his hair on fire. I think that he is set to have another big game. I also will say I thought Tyler Shough was pretty good. I don't think that he had a bad day. Outside of that pick 6, it was an underthrown ball. It was a bad read. That is very true. But let's let him go to the tape. Let's let him have an opportunity to fix it. Let's let him learn from the mistake and grow and develop, because I do think Tyler Shough, when I was watching him pass the eye test, he looked like a quarterback. He looked comfortable in the sense of he looked like he knew what he was doing in Kellen Moore's offense. 15 of 22, 165 yards, 86.4 rating. Like, it wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad day. It wasn't amazing, but I think a lot of people are sitting here and just only holding on to the pick six. He had more yards than Shedeur Sanders had in his preseason game. He was actually one of the better rookies in terms of rookie quarterbacks in their preseason debuts. Spencer Rattler does need to play better. I do think the edge is with Tyler Shough in terms of who will likely be the starter week one, because of the facts that was Kellen Moore's draft pick, because he is the second round guy, 40th overall. Spencer Rattler, fifth round guy, drafted by a previous regime. If Tyler Shough looks good, it's going to be his job. Spencer Rattler is going to have to look a lot better than Shough if he wants to be the QB1. So Rattler, only 53 yards, sacked a couple times, 75.2 rating. He definitely needs to be better. Other offensive players that you should keep your eyes peeled for: Kendre Miller, I'm expecting to have another big role. He was clearly the RB2 based off of the rotation and how he was utilized. Alvin Kamara did not play last week. Kendre Miller got the RB2 reps. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Cam Akers also had pretty solid outings for the limited reps they got. I do think that they have something to prove and could find a way to make the roster. Velus Jones Jr., like we talked about, he's doing a little bit of everything, so want to see him continue to play well. Torricelli Simpkins, he is an offensive interior guy. Has played guard, can play center. I want to see him have another strong campaign against the Jags defensive line. Mason Tipton, in my opinion, one of the biggest all-stars from last week. Dante Pettis, I do think that he's actually a player that could be at risk of losing his job to Mason Tipton, or maybe to Velus Jones Jr. That could be a player that's in a little bit of a battle with Velus. So keep an eye on those two guys going at it. Jack Stoll, Trayton Welch in the as well at the tight end position, and Dylan Radins, he's got to have a much better day. He was playing tackle last week. He will be a guard this week. I need to see him have a much better day. The Saints signed him to be high-level backup, and he needs to be a high-level backup. Friendly reminder, I want to just say it, there will be mistakes. This is still the preseason. If you want to go and overreact and say the season is ruined and we are screwed and we can just mail the season in because of one preseason loss, fine. Go ahead and be a Debbie Downer. Go ahead and be lame. That's okay with me. But if you want to be a little bit more realistic and you want to be, a little bit more optimistic, reminder, it's just the preseason. There's going to be mistakes. There's a lot of youth on this roster. Most of the guys that are playing are not veterans. A lot of these dudes do not have a lot of experience. These are backups competing to make the roster. These are not starters trying to earn more reps. Like, you're not going to really rely on these guys as much as you will in the preseason in the regular season. The playbook is going to be limited. The roster is going through a lot of different trials. The offensive plans, they're trying to change. They're trying different things. This is a trial period. Just breathe. It's okay. It's just the preseason. You don't have to mail it in and be absolutely done with the season because the preseason doesn't look amazing. For what it's worth, we are getting real close to hitting 50,000 subscribers. We are 1,100 away. So hit the sub button so we can get to 50,000 subscribers. We're halfway there to a silver plaque, and I need your help. Not only do you guys help me out, but I help y'all by giving you daily Saints content, multiple live shows a week, and the most informative, entertaining, and engaging content in the whole wide world. Defensive players to watch. Let's start off with Chris Rumph. He is a guy that did have a pretty impressive day. He's a player that I think could have an impressive day. He's made some noise at training camp, made some noise during the summer. Fadil Diggs, like we mentioned earlier, want to see him have a big day. Christian Boyd almost had a safety. Refs in the No Fun League had to overturn it, but he had a really good day against the Chargers. Would like to see him build on it. Nephi Nephi Sewell, I always butcher the pronunciation, but he's competing with Danny Stutzman for linebacker 3. Isaiah Stallbird, like we mentioned earlier, led the team in tackles last week. He's another player to keep an eye on because I think that he could be a really valuable player, especially if he can continue to contribute on special teams. I really do like what I saw from the defensive line. This new 5-man front, I like it. It's different. It's unique. It's modern. There was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of time spent in the backfield by the New Orleans Saints pass rushers. And they had a lot of good times stopping the run early into the rushing attempt or even behind the line of scrimmage. I like overall what I saw from the defensive line. Is there more to be desired? Yes. Can they play better? Absolutely. But was I impressed from what I saw? That is also true. More players. Julian Blackmon. Look, this guy is just continuing to be an impressive player for the New Orleans Saints. Training camp, he's been rocking out. Preseason last week, he had a really good day. Jonas Sanker, a versatile defensive back. I think he has an opportunity to make some noise. Jordan Howden competing in the safety room as well. Quincy Riley, Rico Payton, a couple guys that are competing to start opposite of Kool-Aid McKinstry. You also have Isaac Yadam in the mix. He had a strong day as well. But the two young bucks in Quincy Riley and Rico Payton, I think, do need to prove something and need to have some strong days. Rico Payton, I'm a big fan of. This is not a knock on either of these players, but I just really like them, and I want to see them continue to play well because I want them to make the roster. Most importantly, you got to leave this game healthy. 2 players that got hurt last week are now on injured reserve. Will Clapp and Bub Means. Trevor Penning suffered an injury. Alontae Taylor suffered an injury on practice on Friday before the game. Like, you got to leave this game healthy. You cannot suffer any more major injuries. You can't suffer any injuries, to be totally honest. Like, to be totally honest, in my personal opinion, you're going to need to make some moves for some players because this team and this roster has already started to get decimated by injuries. So please, for the love of God, football gods, if you're listening, please just let the Saints leave healthy. Who you got? Saints, Jags, type S, type J. Let me know in the comment section. And if you want to go above and beyond, give me a score prediction as well. I'm going to take the Saints to win Kellen Moore's debut at the Superdome. It's a preseason game, not real debut, but preseason debut. I'm going to take Saints to win that one. Get in the comment section and share your thoughts. My name is Trizzy Trace Girouard. That's my guy, Loco Lopez. Y'all stay golden, and we'll see you next time.